The Seattle Mariners are heating up. Let's talk about it. So the Seattle Mariners just ended up sweeping the Texas Rangers this past weekend in a series where they looked pretty dominant. There's a few key standout points that I kind of want to discuss in today's video from this past series, and obviously they came off that big win on Wednesday or Thursday. I think it was definitely Wednesday because they had off Thursday. That huge win against the Houston Astros to win that series where they had the 6-0 comeback and ended up winning on a walk-off walk. So now that the Seattle Mariners have won 4 in a row, it is safe to say they are on a little bit of a hot streak. So the real key standout from this past weekend from the Seattle Mariners was just the overall pitching staff performance from a starting pitching perspective and especially from a relief pitching perspective. The Mariners only did get one quality start this weekend, and that was from Bryan Woo, who went 7 innings on Saturday, and Logan Gilbert and Bryce Miller each went 5 innings, so not a quality start, but still very good performances from them. Every starting pitcher had only given up 1 earned run this past weekend, and Logan Gilbert and Bryan Woo each had 7 strikeouts, and Bryce Miller had 5. Now let's really get into talking about the relief pitching. The Seattle Mariners relief pitchers had 10 innings pitched this weekend, in which only one of them gave up an earned run, and that was Trent Thornton back in game 1. After Bryce Miller's outing, he came in the 6th and gave up 2 earned runs. After that point moving forward, not a single Mariners relief pitcher gave up a single earned run, which is extremely impressive for 9 innings of work. Now, besides that, this isn't something that's very unexpected, but Andres Munoz looked absolutely fantastic yet again this weekend. But really the 2 biggest standouts in my personal opinion from this Mariners bullpen is Carlos Vargas and Gabe Speier. So after Gabe Speier had a really great year in 2023, last year he really was not impressive at all. He only pitched in 29 games where he had 23.2 innings pitched, which in 2023 he did have 54.2 innings pitched, so a massive drop off for him last year in that category, where he did have a 5.7 ERA as well. He was 0-2, which isn't obviously anything crazy, but he did end up having 64 strikeouts in 2023 and then 33 strikeouts last year, which is a massive drop off for him. He also had 14 walks in that 23 2/3 innings last year, as well as 15 earned runs given up. And so far this year, he has looked completely dominant. I mean, he has pitched in 6.2 innings where he has not given up a single run. As well, he has 8 strikeouts and not a single walk, as well as only 2 hits. Honestly, every single time, and I had tweeted about this a little bit, he looks absolutely dominant and so comfortable out on the mound every single time he gets called out there, whether it's in a high leverage situation or he gets called out, I believe yesterday in the 6th inning, and he just looks, again, dominant no matter what time of the game he's called to pitch in. And now talking a little bit about Carlos Vargas, who, as we know, was hopefully the one piece that's going to come of something from that Geno trade way back in 2023, because obviously we know Seby Zavala did not come of anything, but Carlos Vargas has looked pretty well. He was a little shaky at the start, but now he's definitely being a lot more relied on by Dan Wilson. As you saw in yesterday's game, he got called in. Obviously, not a huge lead by the Mariners, but he clearly felt comfortable putting him in there in the 7th inning. Now you have to remember, up until this point, Carlos Vargas only had 4.2 innings pitched at the major league level, which were all in 2023 with the Diamondbacks, and he had a 5.79 ERA in those 4.2 innings where he had 7 strikeouts, as well as 4 walks and 2 home runs given up. But now in his sample size this year, he has 9.2 innings pitched, which is double the amount he has had in his entire MLB career, and he has a 2.79 ERA, and honestly, those were all mainly from the beginning of this season, and the past few, I think probably 6 or 7 innings, he hasn't really given up anything. He has 7 strikeouts in that time, as well as only 1 walk, which is honestly huge for a guy who does have a little bit of command control, as in command control issues. He's not a big strikeout guy to begin with, so honestly 7 strikeouts is pretty good for him during this. He's a big ground ball pitcher, but he has really looked solid this year so far for the Mariners. But now from an offensive perspective, the Seattle Mariners offense has looked so much better, especially this past weekend, and after that big win against the Astros, they just look so much more comfortable. In terms of strikeouts, they are not striking out a ton, 8 Ks, 7 Ks, and 7 Ks in those 3 games, so not terrible at all. Jorge Polanco remains hot. Cal Raleigh is starting to heat up a little bit. He definitely loves the torpedo bat, as we can tell by the 3 home runs that he had in 3 games this past weekend. Julio Rodriguez is starting to figure out a little bit. His batting average is up to a 210. Obviously, we want a lot more from Julio, but he is starting to look a little better at the plate. Who knew that Miles Mastrobuoni would be hitting .318 at this point in the season? But hey, we love a little surprise here and there because, as we know, guys like Donovan Solano are really struggling. And that being said, there are still a few guys in this lineup that are continuing to struggle. struggle. Guys like Randy Arozarena, who only has a 164 batting average. Luke Raley only has a 167 batting average. Mitch Garver, who has not really gotten enough playing time, in my personal opinion. I think they really need to find a way to get him some more playing time, but he is only up to a 182 batting average. Rowdy Tellez, I mean, he just kind of continues to struggle. He did have his first home run in the Mariners uniform this weekend, but he is just continuing to struggle and not really show any of those flashes that we saw in spring training. He only has a 100 batting average. And that, in my personal opinion, is maybe a slot where they can slide Mitch Garver in more to kind of give him that opportunity to see if he really is going to have that bounce back season. But Donovan Solano, only a 105 batting average. JP Crawford continues to struggle, only a 163 batting average. And I'm going to go into some more detail in a later video of some of the biggest surprises of this season, as well as some of the biggest disappointments so far. But again, there are certain guys that really still need to figure it out and try to find that groove. But overall, a fantastic weekend. The Seattle Mariners pitching staff continues to just do what they do and absolutely dominate. It is obviously sucks that we still are without George Kirby, and we can kind of feel that pain when we watch those games where he's not pitching and somebody else is pitching instead of him. But that's just what we're going to have to deal with until he can hopefully come back. And obviously Matt Brash is hopefully coming back soon. So these are just going to make the pitching staff that much better. The Seattle Mariners do have a pretty big road trip coming up, and it is not going to be easy against the Cincinnati Reds, the Toronto Blue Jays, and the Boston Red Sox. So that is not going to be a just walk in the park road trip. It is definitely something that they're going to have to continue to stay hot, and hopefully, the pitching staff can continue to dominate and end up winning most of these series. We're going to continue mixing in most of my usual content, but this is maybe something I'm going to start doing more, just kind of series recaps on what looked great, who's really struggling, etc., etc. To hopefully just kind of see, progression throughout the season and really just track in more depth some detail about this team. But again, Mariners baseball is back. They are 8-8, which is not a terrible start considering they were 4-8 at one point, so now we're back at 500, basically 0-0 again. So hopefully they continue to stay hot and, really just take the division by storm this year. Otherwise, I hope you guys did enjoy the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.